All right, boys, that was insane. Not ideal, not the best result, but against an Inter Milan team that turns out had their full squad more or less available to them. It's not the worst thing to get into. The game went probably how we could have predicted, with Inter sitting back and counterattacking for the majority of it, using their height advantage on free kicks and corners and set pieces like that, and Barcelona having the vast majority of the ball, something like 67% possession, doing the most majority of the attacking. I think by the time Inter scored their third, they had 4 shots on target altogether, which I think is very lucky to convert at that rate. It's also, you could call into question Chesney. I really don't think it's on Chesney at all. Maybe the first, but the second one is redonkulous. It barely misses Pedri and Rafinha's heads. And then the third is also ridiculous. It's a great header. You know what I mean? I just don't, there's just not a ton to be done there. And I think he came out of his box insanely well there. For Barcelona's sake, I think the referee could have probably been a little bit more reasonable with the time added on, and then he blew the whistle before the time had elapsed both times. A little unfortunate, but overall, I think I've seen much worse performances by referees. It felt like Inter Milan were getting away with a lot for a while. They spent like an hour and a half taking throw-ins, bro. I haven't seen this in a while. It was whatever. They did their thing, and wasted some time there. Inzaghi also for not getting. He was in Hansi Flick's box the entire second half. What is going on here? Whatever. I'm not that upset with the referee's decision. It's just weird things that were going on in the game. And Barcelona were clearly rattled at the very beginning, and I think that's the main takeaway from the start, that they were, a little thrown off. Obviously, they conceded in like 30 seconds, which, it's not new necessarily to this Barcelona team. We've seen them do it under Xavi. They've done it under Hansi, conceding pretty early, but every single time they fought back. This time, however, they conceded a second to Dumfries, who decided to look like, I don't know, prime Van Basten. It was like, what the hell? You have no right doing this. I was talking before the game, like, yeah, these guys just came off of injury, so usually guys take a second to get better, right? And aren't like on fire immediately. No, Dumfries and Thuram decided to turn up today. And when Inter have needed them so much in the past 3 games, they've done nothing going forward. They decided to today. They turned it on. They finished incredibly efficiently, and that meant Barcelona had to be efficient as well. And I think Ferran Torres missed a couple chances in the beginning, and our better chances he kind of put wide or didn't put the best strikes on them, made it unfortunate. Then Lamine Yamal, this kid is insane, right? Scored his goal. And I think Barcelona from there were the much better team. They looked strong. They obviously struggled to create great chances because I think Inter, when they have their full squad there and they have a lead or they have some confidence, they can defend incredibly well. Bastoni, Acerbi are fantastic, huge center backs. Bisek was really solid today too, and they're all monstrosities of a human being. So it was tough today to find anybody's head to connect in the box at all, but Dani Olmo had a couple of redonkulous chances as well. And I'm not the most disappointed with this, but let's go into the ratings. Let's run through the ratings and then walk through the game that way, as we usually do, to get a better understanding of how the game went. So Chesney, again, I talked a little bit about him. Conceded 3 on 4 shots on target or something, and that's tough. But also, I don't know if they were good finishes, and I don't think he was the culprit of them. Maybe he could come out of the box, but also for Dumfries' goal, Bisek won the header way further away from the penalty box than Chesney could even feasibly come out for. So I don't know. I'm not really critical of him for that, and I think he came out of his box wonderfully today. So I'm going to give him like a 7. I really don't think I think he was great at coming out of the box, and that was so important today. And doing his job. So I think that's very fair. We're going to go over to Martin because Martin did not play well. There was a reason he got taken off in the second half, and, rightly so. I don't think he was good. I think there's a reason probably Hector Fort's not being chosen there. He just doesn't trust him defensively against a good team, which Mallorca wasn't. I want to make that very clear. But against Inter Milan, I think Inigo, when they shifted everybody over, when Araujo came on, I think Inigo looked solid. Again, he's not an attacking fullback. He can't go forward. And so maybe that's where you bring Hector Fort on. I see that. But Martin, I'll give him like a 4, maybe. He wasn't good. And then the rest of the back line, I think, was pretty solid. It's really unfortunate that we lost Koundé. And let me check. I'm going to check Twitter right now to see if it was bad. But he did go out to an injury relatively early, and it really, really sucked because that made us bring in Eric Garcia, who I think was good. But the problem is that I think Koundé was doing such a great job of going forward, of bursting forward and supporting the team that way. Nothing from Rashad Rahman here on Twitter about Koundé, so I would expect just no update on him just yet. He was holding his calf, seems certain that he was injured, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, and hopefully he's okay. I think he was good because he was opening so much space up for Lamine, and I think he's part of the reason Lamine was cooking DeMarco. But you know, I think Eric Garcia came in and did a pretty solid job. I'll give Eric probably a 7.5. I think he was really good, made some really good tackles, did his job pretty well. I think there's a fire alarm going off in the building. Well, whatever. If I die, at least I do it on video with you guys. Overall, ignoring the fire alarm, I think Kubarsi made like one ridiculous tackle against Thuram. He looked pretty solid today, and then it was actually recovering. Thuram is just not that fast. Kubarsi actually looked faster than him at times, was able to recover really well when he's not necessarily that great at it. And they had to fight against Lautaro Martinez, who is so difficult to defend against all of the time. And he's so strong, he's stocky, he's fierce, and I thought he was really good. And he ended up going out as well at halftime. But Taremi is, difficult as well. And I think Inigo and Kubarsi both did a very decent job up there. I'll give Kuba probably like a 7.5 for that tackle. That was ridiculous. It was really, really good. Maybe even an 8. Inigo, I think he did a really good job switching over defensively as well to the left side. Not his best work going forward. He's not he's so exposed out there on the wing. He doesn't have any support because Rafinha's central. And so it's so hard for him. So I'm not going to be that critical of him for that. I think it's like a 7 overall performance, though, even with the attacking poorness. But again, we really need Balde, bro. We need him to be healthy. I don't know if he will be. I can't say for certain because we just haven't. We know he's back in training with everybody, but we don't know if he's moving around perfectly just yet. Hopefully, everyone's able to get rest against Valladolid, though, and he can get minutes because we need him. We need some attacking threat on the left. There was just not enough. We needed Lamine to do everything today, and I think having that variety could be very beneficial going forward. Nonetheless, fine performance. Midfield, I think Pedri and Frankie were really, really solid. I could ask questions, maybe want a little bit more solidity defensively from Frankie, but man, I think he was pretty good. Won a couple tackles back and was safe on the ball, helped rotate possession around, and did overall the things that I think we need him to do. Pedri, I think, was fantastic. Again, getting beat up, getting chipped at every single time he makes a pass, and Barella was clearing his feet every single time. I think the ref did a fine job, but probably could have called a couple more fouls, probably could have been a little bit more fierce with the yellow card delivery, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Overall, I think Pedri, though, was really, really good. And Frankie, probably like a 7.5, 8, or probably like a 7.5. Pedri, probably like an 8.5. Not the most dominant performance from them, I'd argue, but also I think a very healthy performance from this midfield, and that stays for Danny Olmo as well. I think Danny was great. Had one chance too where he megged Acerbi and then got in behind and just didn't put the greatest finish on them. And I think Sommer was doing really well for the most part, making some really good saves. And save that from Danny as well. But I think Danny had a really good game as well. 7.5 probably is fair. They were threatening. They were good against one of the best defensive team in the Champions League this season. So I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed by them. I think scoring 3, coming back is big there. And we'll see. I do think there are some things to talk about with the front 3 though. We'll start with Rafinha. I don't think he was great today. He ended up getting assist and led to that goal for Ferran, where he won the ball there, and I think that was really good. However, you still want a little bit more. You want a little bit more from these guys, and Rafinha especially. Sometimes he's never like the cleanest player, but usually he does something great. And obviously he got the deflection off Sommer with a great shot, had a couple really great rips as well. But I think because it was an own goal technically, it doesn't feel as great. But I think it was a fine performance, not a perfect performance. 7.5 for him. Ferran, I'm going to say the exact same thing. Was filling space well, but not the spaces necessarily because Lamine was putting some great passes in right across net, and it's so unfortunate nobody got their boots to it. You think if we have Lewandowski in this game, it could be like 5-3. It could be 6-3 even. There were that many really good balls in. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I think Ferran was solid. I think the link-up play between him, Danny, and Rafinha looks really good. And Lamine obviously looks good at times. It's just almost there. And I feel like it's something they can flesh out if they play more. But also, this is not the time to be fleshing things out. This is the time to have it all together, to be coming into form. And it felt that way with Lewandowski, and it's really, really unfortunate that he's not around. I think we're definitely feeling that loss, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how that moves going forward and everything. Maybe Ferran plays against Valladolid, but probably he's going to get rested. Maybe Ansu Fati starts or something. That'd be pretty cool. But then Lamine, he's my man of the match. This kid was ridiculous. That first goal was beautiful. And then more than that, he was beating everybody. He even beat Carlos Agosto when he came on and was the best player on this pitch by a massive mark. He was so good at this game, was cooking everybody, and ended up scoring a great goal. A great goal. Easily could have had 1 or 2 assists as well. I think Sommer did his job cutting out a couple of those crosses, making it difficult for Rafinha and Ferran to get to them as well. It's unfortunate that we don't have a win here. I think Hansi made the right subs. Bringing on Araujo at halftime was good. We needed size. They were dominating us in the air, and we actually did concede after Araujo was brought on. But again, these guys are huge. They're bigger than Arsenal. I think you guys will try to extrapolate this to an Arsenal Champions League final maybe. And the problem is these guys are even bigger than Arsenal. Bisek is massive. Thuram is big. Dumfries is massive. And on average, these guys are like 2 or 3 inches or something like that taller than Barcelona. So we're going to struggle on set pieces against them. It is what it is. And I think that's part of the reason they brought Christensen in, which I think was the right choice from Hansi. I think it was absolutely the right choice to bring both Araujo and Christensen on, who I think both played very well. I think all the subs did. I think Firmino looked great, looked intense, made a couple crosses there that were a little bit too much, but not terrible. And who else came in? I think that's pretty much it. Gavi came on. I thought Gavi looked really good actually too, which was good. Unfortunate to lose Pedri, but I think Gavi actually looked. He replaced him better than I thought we've seen from Gavi. So it's cool to see that coming through. But again, we have another game. We have Valladolid midweek or on the weekend. I guess this is midweek, and I think that's a good opportunity to literally do nothing. To just if we forfeit, we forfeit. I don't care. We can drop 3 points. We're 4 points clear Madrid. And then we still get to play them. So realistically, we rotate everyone and their mother, and we let the B team figure it out against Valladolid. If we can do that, I think that's big because, again, this is a weakened Barcelona without Balde and Lewandowski, and they just played 120 minutes against Real Madrid. And Inter have their guys back now. You know what I mean? So this was like everything was lining up to be like, okay, they're both going to be weakened. They're both going to be tired. Because Inter's been playing a ton of football, right? But Inter does have a pretty deep squad. They've been rotating them. Inzaghi's done a pretty decent job of rotating the midfield, especially. And then they had Dumfries and Thuram come back today. So it was supposed to look even. And then people were talking about how this would be like a legendarily easy run for Barcelona in the Champions League. And then they came back full strength and were able to do what they did today. They looked good. They looked the way I think we expected Inter to look. But I think us putting 3 behind this defense speaks pretty loudly about what could happen at the San Siro. Obviously, it's a difficult place to go to, but I also think it might be good that we're going to be chasing the game a little bit. We're not leading it. And I think that helps this mentality of this team. They don't have to walk into the San Siro with like a big lead and then lose it like they did against Dortmund. They don't have to worry about that. They've done that too much in Barca's recent history. So going in there, having to fight, I think lines up perfectly for what Hansi needs to do. And it's not the worst result. It could have gone much worse. And overall, we'll see what happens, boys. Thank you for watching. Visca Barça, good performance overall. Obviously not ideal, but it is what it is. And I'll see all of you guys in the next one. Peace. Also subscribe. It's, just do it.